First council workshop for our 2026 budget. Like everything in life these days, how we get here so fast? Just seems like we were here planning our 2025 budget. So I'm going to start tonight just with a real brief, not really a downer, because we do see ways that we can make it through what we're being told is coming down the pike. And then I will turn it over to Tish. And she's, we've worked with Baker Tilly and we've got projections from them. And she's gonna work on this, the process and, how we get to our end result for budget. Because we do know, some of you are pretty much a new council. So hopefully that will help too. We have bringing experience to the table, I guess, because we have went through this in 2009, getting ready for the circuit breaker in 2010. So if there's, like I told you in your email, if there's any good news at all, it's that we have, Scottsburg has weathered this storm before, and we've come out, I feel like, pretty successfully. So I will start by telling you that we will be down this year when we, our budget ends June the 30th is our drop dead date. We start looking at money that we have to do anything we might wish to do for our upcoming budget. So that date has come and gone, and Tisha's projected that we will be down in our cash reserves at the end of this year. We're not alarmed at that. We're going to just suggest that we, the city for 2026 doesn't do any special projects. As you know, in some of our lines in Board of Works, we have money in there for special projects, but we are going to suggest that we refrain from doing that in 2026. And then we would see how things level off for us, and if everything they're telling us is still on target to be a go. And when it comes budget time next year, we would come back and address that and see if this needs to follow through into 2027 for that budget. But we do have some changes coming in the city with stormwater. We know we're being looked at to get that department started, our move to the Mid-America Science Park, what we will see with our collections from our sanitation. So once we level off next year, then we would address that with you all come next July. So with that being said, I will turn this over to Tish Ritchie.
Okay, so that's the cash reserve part, but the other part that's got so much attention, whether it be here or throughout the state, is Senate Bill 1. Baker Tilly has this little PowerPoint put together explaining Senate Bill 1, and then Jan had them do estimated financials for the city of Scottsburg for the effects of Senate Bill 1, and we met with them and we discussed this, and this goes out, these projections go out to 2031. So I'm going to try to keep this presentation with as few numbers and as few percentages and as few tiny details. I'm going to try not to use those. We want to get the big picture of what's going to happen, because you are not only taxpayers, you also have to make sure that the city can continue to provide services. So you kind of need to know what's happening with these property taxes as you move forward when people ask. And why things are going to be different. One of the things is, I will start with, is when I'm talking about the budget, I'm only talking about the 4 accounts that get property taxes, which is the general fund, which is your fire, police, animal, all those, sanitation, MVH, parks, and CONCAP development. Those are the only 4 funds in the city that get property tax dollars, and they share those. So if one goes up, the other one goes down, that type of thing. So when I say the budget, I'm only talking about those guys added up. Realize you are going to be doing budgets for everything on that fund report that you get each month. For that front page, you're going to do budgets for all of them. But right now, we're just talking about those 4. So note, this year, a little less than 8 million for those 4 accounts. And property tax and lit generate a little less than 5 million. So most of the money we get to run those budgets is paid for with those 2 taxes. These stacks represent the county bill. When the county bills, all the people in the city of Scottsburg, and they send out the bills, this kind of represents the money that would be generated from those bills. We're gonna call this is the industry. This is rental property. These are homeowners. They're probably not a third, but just so you have an idea of how this works. So the state last year said we could ask for this much money, and we asked for that much money. That's what you get. And so then there's an assessment, and you take that much money and you divide it by the assessment and you get a percentage. And the percentage for the county this year is a little over 3%, okay? Which, I'm gonna take one side note here. Realize if the assessments in the county were twice as high, this stack would still be this big. They would just lower the percent. Okay, the state regulates this. Okay, they also regulate the assessment. Okay, but pretty much. So this wouldn't change whether your property value went up or your property value went down. Just the percentage would change, which has other effects, but we're not gonna, that's a story for another day. So right now, these are the bills that went out. But in 2010, they had a circuit breaker that said, never again will we pay over 3%. Industry, right now it's over 3%. They got a credit. So on their bill, it said this much at the top, somewhere in there was a credit because this percentage as a whole was over 3% for the city and the county and the school district. So that money was never taken in, that number of money was never given to the city. That also was for rentals, and that was also for property. But rentals only pay 2%. So even though they billed for that, rentals didn't pay that, okay? City never got that money. At the top of the bill, credits, city didn't get it. Homeowners, they only pay 1%. So the state allowed you as a council to approve a budget that was this big, but this money was all given back to the taxpayer in terms of credits. Well, and then homeowners get homeowner deduction, okay? So none of that money was collected, will be collected by the city. We call this a circuit breaker. This represents $400,000 for the city this year. Okay, this has started at $20,000 back in 10 and has gradually gotten more and more. City can handle this situation. Happens, it gets a little bit larger every year. The State Bill 1 said, yeah, we're gonna do things differently. This homeowner's credit, we're gonna take that back. Okay, but now we're gonna start doing some other things. These guys aren't gonna have to pay as much taxes on equipment and other things. So, let's say, about 2008, they get some more credits that come into effect. And these guys, they were paying 2%, but now they had no deductions. They had no credits, deductions, anything, other than the limited 2%. But now, 2008, they're starting to get a credit. And these guys, we lost this, but they're now gonna get more credit, the homeowners. So now this money is not gonna be collected. This is now $700,000. So from 2005 to 2008, this grows, not quite double. The bill goes out to 31. These people are gonna get a 66% credit. These people are gonna get a 1/3 credit. And I don't know what crazy things are going on with these people. This is now 1.2 million. So, will those numbers change? Yes. But the concept of State Bill 1, that's what it does. So where we were at 400,000, a little under 400,000 this year, it's supposed to project it, Baker Tilly has projected that to be 1.2 million by 31. So obviously you can't continue to do the same thing you're doing today if you're gonna have that much loss in income. So this is one situation. This is one situation. But this little guy over here, our friend Nick, we were getting about 3 million from this to begin with, before we lost the 400,000. In 2008, 2007, this will be 2.5 million that the city will get for lit. That's local income tax. So if you have a job and
Do you
you
want 2027, 27? So
it goes through,
that's when it stops.
yes, it stops in 27 and it stops in 27. So in 27, the county, first of all, the county voted all this in. The city didn't, we just benefited from it. 2007, the state said this no longer exists. That's 2.5 million. we got a problem. Now, the good news is they said each city can come back and they can reestablish it, but only at that rate. This is another 800,000. That's Senate Bill 1. So, I know none of you voted for Senate Bill 1. You had no play in that, but it provides a significant tax increase to the working people and to the property owners. But at the same time, you have to provide services. So this is really a big deal. I don't like to ever be in a penny, the sky's falling type of person. So I think we look to 2008 and we figure out what's going on there. This situation, Baker Tilly will walk you through, but obviously if you don't do that, that's really not an option. That's 2.5 million. You know, you've got to get that back. They're not going to let you get all of it back. But Baker Tilly is going to walk you through. They're going to come see you later this year and tell you about how you get this back. But this part, as of right now, again, Senate meets again before 2008. You know, they might undo this, because if this is bad for Scottsburg, it's a lot worse for other people. Because we had some fat in our budget. You had special project money that you could pull out in some other places. So the next few years is really going to be about staying ahead of the cuts, staying ahead of the loss. Make sure I didn't leave out anything there. The one thing is that you can make this up in two ways. One, it can be different taxes, like bringing the lit back or a part of the lit back, and it could be cuts, and it could be other new revenue. So, and Baker Tilly is going to talk to you about other things and what other people are going to be doing. And I'm sure you guys are going to hear things at meetings when you go to council meetings across the state, when they have those education meetings, of what people are going to do to handle this. Because again, it's not just Scottsburg. People a lot bigger than us with a lot tighter budgets are going to have the same kind of percentages. This percentage of 67, 66 and 2/3% off for the home is the same in Scott County as it is in Park County, as it is in Marion County, and it doesn't change. So hopefully the law will change. It won't be quite so drastic. But right now we just have to, eat the elephant one bite at a time. And for next year, Baker Tilly has said our revenues will be down about 233,000. So we take care of next year first, and then we can worry about what's going to happen down the road. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? I hope that kind of explains or demonstrates how that works.
So are you setting it up just like we did with the circuit breaker? Basically, the process?
Yes,
So we're gonna just advance as we go to that end game.
Jan's,
Just like-
that's going to be Jan's suggestion here in just a moment, that we'll cut this year.
And then start building upon the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't.
No, that's okay, you could kind of, yeah, that is fine, because that is our suggestion, that we look at, and Richie's familiar with how we've always done budgets here, that we would cut anything we could see in this year's budget to come up with what they're recommending for next year, that 250,000. We wish to, and it would be our suggestion to council, that this can be done and that we can survive this, come out on top by not cutting services to our citizens and not cutting flesh, not you know, when you get to that stage, we do not see that happening. But we also need to partner and work together, to move it forward so that we won't be, in, like she's saying, by 2028, that lit money is 2.2 million.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
today,
there's a little
it's
money,
2.5.
yeah. And if you add what they're now allowing you to add, the 1.2%, we're still 800,000 down in 28. So that's not that far away. We're trying to just look at the next 2 years for right now. We're looking at next year and hoping we don't have to do too much then in 27, that we can, you know, still, we will know more next year. Because we cannot project the revenue that we're gonna be coming in. So we feel like we will have a better idea next year.
And to touch base with what Richie mentioned is when this happened the first time, department heads had the option to either cut it out of this year or next year. And so obviously everybody, well, most people cut it out of this year. I said, well, I won't spend it this year, but leave it in my budget for next year. So if this passes, or if the revenues and come in at more, we get more revenue coming in from stormwater or sanitation, then it's still intact. And that's the best thing for your departments, is to not cut the money out of next year's budget, to leave next year's budget flat, other than the money that Jan has already mentioned that needs to come out for special projects, and then take this year, where Jan and I and Jill work together. For example, the stormwater position that's been totally funded, well, it's not hired yet. So half of that, we can say we're not gonna spend this year, because we know we're not gonna spend it. So to go through and identify money in this year's budget that we know will not be spent, and then you will do a reduction to the budget. Jan will get the paperwork done, you guys will reduce that, so that when we send the budget up, it will be able to be funded, because we said, yes, we're not gonna spend that this year. And so it buys you time, and it'll buy us some time, and then, we had to do it 2 years in a row when the circuit breaker first hit. And we might have to do it again, but you could much rather do it like that than them lose the structure of their budget, because what they're gonna do is cut out all of their operating equipment and their supplies. Nobody's gonna come in and say, the other guy who worked beside me, I want him gone. They're not gonna do that. Every place but out of flesh. And you need those people for services. I don't want to make that light of that.
Yes, so that is our suggestion, and my thought was we asked council to give us the authority to look through and see where there are areas that we feel can be cut comfortably without a lack of services. And get us meet again next Monday after our meeting, just stay over and we meet then as a workshop. Tish and I will have to do some quick calculations and be sure we haven't missed anything. Because we will also be looking, there's a few lines that we know are a little short. Now, when you get your financials, you will see that, some of the departments are a little below their 50% in a certain line. We will know where, if we can find it in their budget, or if we're gonna be short, maybe we need to add a little to that budget. That would be our hope, that council would allow us to do that, because I do know of a couple right off that, we would need to add a little. So, I would be open for your all's thoughts, comments, or how you wish us to proceed.
Okay. So the way that we're gonna begin is we gotta be flat. That is, have you looked at numbers yet at all, Tiff? Okay, so any raises at all, 1%, is it even feasible, or is it even a number that you could put in to say, here, I'm gonna look at it and tell you?
I haven't done payroll yet.
Okay, so payroll not even, that you just went with our
I've
man.
done a financial statement, but I haven't fine-tuned payroll yet. And we don't have the insurance estimate yet. There could be money there. And once we have those numbers, hopefully, is insurance.
We're expecting to get the numbers from our insurance on Wednesday, or have a better idea. I have
We should be
provided
able
a
to answer
working.
that question on Monday.
I mean, we've gotten better information so far this year than we did last year for budget, anyway. But this gives us an idea of what we gotta look at.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think we'll let you all look at the situation, figure out where we can save money and stuff like that, you know, because that's the only thing we can do. So I think you and Trish will do a great job, so we just have to rely on you to help us out there.
Thank you, Rick. And I've heard Tish say many times, proper planning prevents problems. And that was one of hers. I'm sure she told her students for years, and she's practiced on me and continued to say it. And it's right. That's what we're trying to do with council now, is that us to be prepared for what's coming down, what our legislators have passed on down to the local level. That
And last time we had a circuit breaker, they did a very good job of us still growing. Through tough times, we consider tough times.
We made it through it.
We made it through. So if we have that goal in place, to look out to 31 and plan ahead, that's the team I really like to have doing it. So if they can put those numbers together for us by next week, folks.
We'll get for next year, we'll have a rough, and then if we do the no projects and we do the 225, 250 out of this year, that will hold our spot, keep our head above water, and then we see what sanitation and stormwater do, and then next year, we have to look if those do not bring in significant, if that situation hasn't netted us more money, where we were subsidizing trash with so much tax dollar, we'll have to look and go from there.
Well,
We just don't have enough information yet on the landfill fees and the.
I feel very confident that we have you two here working, you guys can make miracles happen. I know you're the numbers
We
lady,
can't
and
turn water into
but I feel
wine.
very confident you guys will do the best job you possibly can, and I'm not gonna be worried right now.
Okay.
You guys can make money come out of stone, but we'll see what will happen. I mean, we are very fortunate here to have you with us. And I think we couldn't get in a better team, and I have full confidence that you ladies will be able to take care of this. And then we'll have to make our decisions later on. But,
It'll be fast. I mean, this process, as you remember from last year, it happens quickly. Because we have to have our numbers and ready to go, because it is my intent to bring that to you. I didn't bring my, phone, but on our first meeting in, September, like we always do, I will bring the budget for that first reading and the public hearing. And then we would adopt it, do the second and third readings on the second, meeting in September. And I have to stick by those, whatever I tell them. And I've got that, Donna's got my notes, so I do that first thing in the morning to upload all, to the state, so they know what our plans are.
This is the way that you read Senate Bill 1, this will get us through next year.
For next year.
Okay.
And then, the biggest hope is that the big wigs are gonna say you can't do this. They can't, and so they will pull back either on this lit limitation, or they'll do something with these property taxes. Of course, everybody wants to break the property taxes, but this is pretty severe. This is, really severe. And if it's really severe for us, then it's that way.
Did you go before the Senate and give the same presentation?
Well, and one of the things I just want to say, you guys didn't vote on this, but there's word out there that this is your fault, okay? So, because they say you approved the rate. Yeah, but they approved this number and they approved the assessment, and you only approved the paperwork that goes with it. And you divide those two numbers that they approved, or that they have got
If
handed.
they want it all to be done on the local level, they should not be making these decisions for you here on the local level. So you must play the hand that's dealt. And I will say, I was in a meeting with a couple of our local legislators 3 weeks ago, and they did not believe the projections. So we shall see. week and weather, we're doing this like one step at a time, so we know.
Like I
we
said,
get-
it's just like a circuit breaker, we're going for what we have to have to make sure we're good. If it gets better, we're in better shape.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Nobody's gonna die by sucking it out for a year.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
we can cut most of that out now and make it,
Yeah, and no services will be affected next year with the cuts that have been mentioned here. So that everything should continue on, and then hopefully things will settle down and it won't be as bad as it was projected.
I would also ask that council watch your emails, because might be the end of the week, before I send something out, so you might be getting it over the weekend as to where, because I plan to send you an email as to what we know, where there's some shortfalls that we might have to add a little bit, and where we know we could take money, and then let you help us make those decisions. That is my game plan right now, going forward this week, so if any of you have any questions or anything further to add, I'm good with.
I'll see you next Monday.
Huh?
I said, I'll see you next Monday.
Yes, okay.
You guys have to stay for another presentation.
We have, yes, we do have, Richie will be, do you wanna bring him up to snuff on that? Because the last that I've had with them was when we told them that we were taking that, we couldn't do that raise for the policemen on their longevity back in January.
the guys have actually gotten that done to where it's correct. But also that's something that Tish needs to be able to put into everything.
Yes.
You'll get it together.
Okay.
So Brian Hall is gonna come in and present to us the same thing for the longevity that they brought last year that we approved. They got approved and it wasn't done quite correctly the way it needed to be done by council. So we had council come and review it and get it done correctly by them, and he's gonna bring it back to us. And he should be outside.
So we'll have a regular city council meeting on,
Next Monday is our regular meeting at 6, and then we will just stay over.
well, we sure messed up changing time, didn't we? Okay, we can change them back.
We'll be a little later, so this is just to be expected, this is, this is really your major duty is budget. So, this is an important time for the city, and we can all stay, hopefully we will have it mapped out and you will have looked at it, so you'll kind of know, hey, this is okay to do this or that. And then we should be able to work on that and probably give you all like the version to look at like we did and have it ready to upload.
And as they pointed out last time, Rick doesn't care to even whatever, it's a hard week. Brian, come on up here close where everybody can hear you. Everybody in the world can hear you right now, because we're live, so just remember that. Go ahead and, I tried to explain what day came in last year, we just needed to do it correctly. So if you'll go through the process of what you all did to make it
I'll just read it because it's easier. We met back in April of this year to do it the correct way with the IC code that we had to follow. But last year, Chief Harden met with the council and everything to increase the longevity for the police and fire from 20% to 25%. This was done in order to help retain current officers and recruit future applicants. It was later discovered the change had to be the result of a meet and confer process under IC 36-8-22. The statute lists the manner in which officers and firemen can organize. Members then went through the process pursuant to IC 36-8-22 and formed an exclusive recognized representative meeting with the council in order to change the longevity to 25 cents. At that time, the Scottsburg Police and Scottsburg Fire Alliance, the process was a petition requesting an election of an exclusive recognized representative was circulated and signed by at least 30% of the employees with the Scottsburg Police Department and Scottsburg Fire Department. An election was held on 4/3/25, and the members of the Scottsburg Police and Fire Departments formed the Scottsburg Police and Scottsburg Fire Alliance. And Brian Hall, myself, was elected as the representative due to being the FOP president. Myself as the speaker of the Scottsburg Police and Scottsburg Fire Alliance are here to ask for the increase to 25% longevity to satisfy the meet and confer process under IC 36-8-22. This will hopefully help keep officers at the department longer and recruit better officers and more officers in the future. Any questions? That's the process that we had to follow.
So it's what we approved last year, but we didn't have the process in place by the IC code. So that's what the department had to come back and do the IC code, and that's why Brian is here as representative. Because they did it, and it can't be the chief of police, it has to be an alliance.
Couldn't be the chief of these, chief for.
Or the assistant chief, for our understanding. So that's why Brian is back to the same, and it's for retention and recruitment as both dual parts.
And I know we've been having some processes lately in the past, and we're still having trouble getting applicants, so. And we just request that it be moved to 25% to help keep people here longer that do choose to stay here longer. Because it's a percent added after 20 years, up to 25 years.
So what do we have to do next to move this process along?
Basically, we just have to as Jan says, we gotta find out the numbers, make sure
Oh, okay.
Petition will give us that for next year. It was in the budget for this year, so it is in there. And we just haven't done the correct way to start it. So what it's gonna have to do is, I basically after the next hearing, when we find out the numbers for everything, then they'll give us those educated numbers of what we can do or can't do.
Okay.
Is the way that I'm getting what we have coming forward.
I'm not sure what our legal counsel said, where it goes after, we might need to double check on that, Richie.
Yeah, that's the only thing, and he said have this meeting, so we got the council involved, and you came and gave the presentation, and
I say, we spoke with the FOP lawyer, which was Leo Blackwell, and he's advising us that by everything he can see is we're doing it correctly. But I mean, I know there's other lawyers involved, so.
Yes, there is. Yes, and again, the current chief did say, after reading something from the attorney that I got, at the time when we found out it had been done illegally, that we couldn't do it. Then Dave did, this is basically forming a union. He did admit to that, so that held us up some in bringing it to council. That was one thing Dave didn't, but again, he's correct. Yes, they did follow Leo Blackwell's advice.
And the second thing that they did, and they did say in that caveat is that they could basically drop the alliance after obtaining a longevity raise, that they wouldn't come back as collective bargaining and ask for anything further.
Yeah, we're not looking for.
They just-
unions, so.
Well, yeah, they don't want to go any further with it. They said they could dissolve it and be done after having that done. That would be for the police and fire for all officers moving forward. It doesn't grandfather anybody in, it just anybody there now and moving forward. And several departments around the area have done different things through the time frame. Like Columbus hires in at 1.5% or something per year, which gets them to 25%. But there's different cities that have done different
Actually,
things.
the way they have their setup, it actually gets them at, when they have 20 on, it takes them to 28%.
28%.
There's like
Something,
it's 1.25 or something
yeah.
like that.
They changed their basic longevity to begin with. All they're doing is asking to move to 25%, cap it, in one
Going
quarter,
to 1% per year, so,
up to 25 years.
correct.
And so if you don't mind me asking, Brian, is that the intent then now, if this is passed and council agrees that you will disband the committee?
As long as that's legally through the FOP, if that's what they say we can do, but that is our plan, yes.
Well, if you
Because we
don't,
don't need a union, so.
I would ask that you get that from your FOP attorney, and then I would run it by my attorney also, to be sure, because Richie and I have been working together to try to save the police, an extra attorney fee. So I would, if we have what Mr. Blackwell says, that would be my suggestion to council.
As far as what we've been told, yes, it can be disbanded as soon as this takes effect. But we had to call it something, and we had to do it in the legal process according to the IC code
Correct.
to get it to this point.
To this point. Any questions for Brian?
I feel bad that we didn't get it done last year, but we'll try to fix it this year and get it all back where it needs to be.
We appreciate it.
You guys do a great job out there, and you guys got a great police force, and you guys deserve this. And we're gonna try to do everything we can to get this all settled out this year for you guys.
We appreciate it.
That's all I've got for you right now.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming in.
Thank you for considering it.
Okay, so anyone else? That's all we have. I would like to make one comment too. Richie and Tim, they attended our exit conference last week with the State Board of Accounts. So, since we're discussing budget, I'm pretty proud that they were able to get our budget, get our audit done in just about half the time that they had projected for here. So our cost for our audit, you know, some of it's a utility cost also, but it's 28,000. So, I feel good that if they got it done in half the time, so it didn't cost the city 56,000. So,
And they brag very much, the state did on our audit.
yes.
Very good audit.
So we're proud of that and we want to like to continue. So I would be, I guess we open for a motion to adjourn. If we need to put that in the minutes, I would say, so.
Motion to adjourn then.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and you'll notice too, there is a new way that Jill and them will have to do agendas. And yeah, it's got to put all the councilmen on every agenda now. And yeah, it's a lot of more coming down from the state.